Okay, Sim Racing Expo 2025, biggest one yet. I'm here
Yeah.
with Mitchie Hoyer. Good to see you. We're starting here at Simucube. We're going to tell you our honest opinions about what we've seen, what we like, what we're confused about. Simucube, we got the 2, but the Simucube 3.
Yeah,
Have you tried it?
I did. I actually did try it on their rig
Okay.
with everything in one ecosystem.
Yep.
And I gotta say, it's pretty interesting. And I'm gonna see, like, this is the future.
It is the future.
Because you have one USB pin, you have like one hub where every other thing goes in, whether that is pedals, whether that is your wheel,
Yeah.
the wheel connected through the wheelbase,
Yeah.
the wheelbase in itself, and then you got like one software where you configure every single piece of hardware that you're running.
Yeah.
And this is like, it minimizes the risk of mechanical failures.
Yeah. But I think
also-
that Ethernet switch, you've got to
Yeah.
work out the Ethernet switch. It's got to
100%.
be integrated.
100%.
But when you ran on that rig,
Yeah.
were you running a GT car with ABS?
I did get a cup car
Yeah.
to just like feel everything.
Okay.
And I also got asked for the Porsche GT3 to also feel the ABS, the vibration.
Did you have ABS through the active pedals and the wheelbase as well?
Yes.
What do you think about that? Because you're getting 2 sensations of ABS. I wonder whether I would configure it if I had that set up to just have ABS through one or the other.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like, it's nice that you have the opportunity to have it on the steering wheel itself.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, if you don't have active pedals,
Yeah.
let's say. But I would be more interested to have the ABS on the brake.
Yeah.
And then, like, rather get a rumbling in the steering wheel when I'm understeering,
Yeah.
right? Because otherwise, there's nothing really telling me
You confuse? Am I the tires or is it the ABS kind of
exactly.
thing? Yeah.
Like, if I overturn on the steering wheel, understeer, and the steering wheel is shaking,
Yeah.
I might not be on the brake.
Yeah.
But from the shaking steering wheel, I do notice then that I am currently doing understeering, so I'm adjusting, and the same as the brake. And I think the thing that you want to adjust to help the situation is the thing that should vibrate.
Okay.
Which on the braking and ABS, it's the brake.
So you want brake ABS probably, and you maybe don't actually want it through the wheelbase if you have an active pedal.
Exactly.
If you don't have an active pedal, like 99% of us, then you just have to be aware that you have to interpret that sensation through the wheel.
Absolutely.
But then you start getting into stuff I'm sure we'll get onto, which is there's some things here where I feel there's too much stuff going on, and I don't understand it as a sim racer when there's too much motion or too many sensations, and I feel even more disconnected
Yeah.
from the experience. This is this one that has made everyone deaf, I think, right?
Yeah.
The Actoracer. I don't know how they got away with it, but they were it was louder than the Formula One car.
It was so loud that, like, even if you were in the booth over there at the other end of the
Yeah.
expo, like, between you and me,
Yeah.
it was annoying to say the least.
No, I don't know these guys personally, but I don't think Conspit are going to be their best friends. They're also
I
going to be
agree.
deaf. But that said, I love the way this rig is set up. They got the Pimax crystal. I think have you been trying out VR a little bit recently? If I saw.
I did a crystal light,
Yeah.
A crystal light I have at the minute, yeah.
So crystal light, and we got a Formula thing. So this is not too much VR here at all this year. I would say,
No,
really.
No,
Um,
pretty little apparently.
What are your thoughts on VR? I mean, the crystal light, you've got obviously that resolution. It's
Yeah.
crazy, difficult to run it,
Yeah.
and a bit bulky. I'm surprised. I don't understand how 2 things can be true at the same time. 1, VR is the best way to do sim racing,
Yeah.
if it's true. And 2, why is there not more VR stuff here? I don't understand how both can be true.
I think,
Which one's not true?
yeah, VR in itself still needs a lot of development, especially, like, you need to run a 5080, a 5090
Yeah.
graphics card in order to really enjoy a 4K VR glasses. I don't have that, so
Yeah.
I'm always compromised.
Yeah.
And at the same time, most of those VR glasses, they are so sensitive to movement.
Yeah.
It is so quickly it happens that the vision just gets out of sight.
A little bit blurred.
blurred,
Yeah.
and it's inconvenient.
Because the lenses are moving a little bit. Yeah.
So you would need to find a glasses that is like sitting rock solid,
Yeah.
not moving at all, and then like still have that fine sensor that perceives all the movement you do
Yeah.
with your head.
Well, let's see what happens. Pimax bring out some new headsets, big screen beyond as well.
Yeah.
Small form factor, but I'm a little bit like VR. I want to see more kind of like support for it and making it easier, not just about mad specs, but just making it easier to use. Maybe if we talk about, I don't know if you've seen this stuff here from Conspit,
I've done, yeah.
It's interesting because I think a lot of other companies are saying, hang on, how are Conspit doing this so cheap? How are they coming out with these products? And it feels like almost like a response. Conspit's like, yeah, here's everything. Here's the inside of it.
And if you look at it, like, it looks all right.
Yeah.
Like pre-built
Aluminium.
areas,
Yeah.
like proper connecting cables.
Yeah. The answer could
good
just be they're
prints.
just really good at doing it.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a really good ecosystem that seems working for them.
Carbon.
Maybe it has to do like with the area where they produce.
Yeah, maybe.
Must be.
Yeah.
But like I agree, like the stuff that you've seen here is they're competing one-on-one against a GSI on the industrial level.
And the inside of a DD wheelbase as well. And so we've got the magnets, the electromagnets.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fascinating.
It is.
Don't put in there.
Okay. We've got the slip ring, the encoder, right? The optical encoder. Yeah, obviously milled or whatever to very high tolerance. But it's interesting to see the kind of body of a DD.
Yeah.
And then like why it takes that function. Actually.
Yeah. I was the first time I saw DD, I was like, is that the same thing I'm having at home, like in that black box?
Yeah,
thing there?
yeah.
But like it works a treat, right? And it is like DD is the new standard market.
Yeah.
The belts are done.
Yeah, we see the
The
price
rims
coming.
are done.
Yeah.
The prices for DDs are coming down.
Yeah.
The amount of hardware manufacturers in the competition
Yeah.
is further bringing down the prices.
Yeah.
But I also fear in 2 to 3 years we'll see a huge consolidation on
Yeah,
the hardware
I agree.
market.
I think we're still a niche,
We are.
and if you want to grow a company and have those economies of scale, you can't have that many companies in this space. Think about even car manufacturing. How much
Yes.
consolidation there's
Yes,
been, and you
yes.
have brands, but they're just brands, like really, like the actual economic. So we may see more consolidation
Absolutely.
in a good way or a bad way. I don't know. I think we need to see this motorbike thing because I've never really looked at it properly.
Yep.
There's a motorbike sim. Is that something that interests you at all?
Not really. My
Okay.
ex-girlfriend would appreciate it if
Okay.
I did. But that's why she's my ex, right?
Well, if your
So-
ex-girlfriend's watching, then make sure you're subscribed to the channel.
She won't.
I'll never say no.
What I think is even more interesting is that in the meanwhile you find simulators like forklifts and stuff.
Yeah, in the same
So I'm
booth.
just waiting for the first warehouse simulator
Which
coming.
one?
A warehouse
Yeah,
simulator.
we just picked
where
up
you're
the
like
forklift.
forklifting around.
To
all
be
the
fair, it
time.
could be quite relaxing.
Yeah,
Yeah, but could also run your own warehouse.
like some similar to ASMR stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know too much about bikes, to be honest, but that looks like pretty intense down the bottom. Like,
It's a big motor.
yeah.
Lots of hydraulic stuff, I think.
If you have a look, Sam, it's more interesting than us. Like, I'm fascinated. I mean, I thought KTM was bankrupt about 3 times over, but I don't know who's.
They seem to never fade out.
Yeah.
Getting refinanced, been there again.
I mean, in terms of arcades and maybe like sim centers as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if this. I don't know what.
Oh no.
We'll do like subtitles next.
Yeah.
Right, they're going to fire up the F1 car. So we just got to get as far away as possible.
Talks. Standing aside.
All right, so we got far enough away from the F1 car. Mitchie, Simagic.
Yep.
What are you thinking about Simagic at the moment? Hey, D man, good to see you.
I
Good
mean,
to
they have a very wide range of products around here.
Yeah.
I think they could have brought one or more sims actually to
try
test the variety
Okay.
of products.
Yeah.
But what is an even more interesting one is Thermaltake then.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because Thermaltake.
And with Cube as well, right?
Say again?
Partnering with Cube on some of the products.
I think so.
The
but
pedals,
no, not necessarily. I think Thermaltake is the only company where you can get your PC, your monitor, your mouse, your headphones,
Through all
your
in one.
direct drive wheels, your pedals, your
Yeah.
motion system, literally everything, even your alloy rig.
Yeah.
Everything you need for sim racing, all out of one platform, all out of one company
Yeah.
from Thermaltake. Like you see it here, they have their gaming PCs out.
Yeah.
They have 3 bundles of direct drive wheels, 6, 15, 25 Newton meters. I think they're working on a load cell brake. Maybe
Yeah,
that
they
is
got
the one.
they got 2 load cells, this one and that one.
Exactly. So They have different pedals as well.
Yeah.
Sprechen wir später. And they also have their own wheels. I'm not sure if they're partnered with anyone on the wheels, but they all have their TT branding on it.
I was told that there's just some kind of collaboration behind the scenes with Cube Controls.
This could well be.
That's what I've heard. I
This
mean, it
could
doesn't
well
have
be.
Cube branding, but like that motion rig over there behind us,
Yeah.
I believe the all-in-one, they deliver it is £15,000, which
I think
sounds...
it has a price tag over there, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, what you're saying is correct, and this is particularly interesting because Thermaltake is not only into sim racing, they're also into flight sim.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
So they do have over there,
Yeah.
you see a complete flight control system, even
Yeah.
with rudder pedals and
Yeah.
stuff. So this is what this big moving simulator on the right of their booth
Yeah,
is the most interesting part about.
yeah.
Number 2 is disconnected.
Should we hold it? Can you unclip and I can unclip and hold it?
It's connected, but it's 80% battery.
Okay, I'll hold it like this then, or whoever's speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, you speak in a moment.
Yeah.
So Thermaltake coming in big, right?
Yeah,
We saw Cooler Master before.
Yeah.
They're not here this year.
for whatever reason.
Yeah, I don't know why, but it seems like Thermaltake, a similar PC company, are hitting it harder. They seem to be hitting it harder. That's my.
They go more all in for sure.
Yeah.
Like they have a bigger variety of services ready for the customer, that's
Yeah.
for sure. And speaking about absence,
Yeah.
Logitech also not here. Very interesting.
I mean, massive launch for them. Huge launch. One of the biggest launches of the year in sim racing, full stop.
yeah,
Let's talk SimLab.
yeah,
39 Newton meters.
yeah,
Necessary.
unnecessary.
Why are they doing it to show off?
No idea. Maybe that is.
Yeah.
I give them to it. 39 Newton meter is giving you the edge at the clipping area, right?
Okay.
So whenever the simulation would give you a big jolt,
Yeah.
a 39 Newton meter is able to display that.
Let's have a
But the
look at-
question is that giving you a benefit?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're the esports driver.
Yeah.
If you had a choice between a 25 and a 39,
I think the 25 would be fine enough. It would
you-
be a financial.
if you had the choice for free between a
For free.
26 or a 39,
I mean, you would go for the 39 just simply in order to have the opportunity, right? To just
Yeah.
have it if it's for free anyway.
Yeah.
But like, I would tune it down to have like, on an average, like
Yeah.
9 to 10, 11 Newton meter, because that is the resistance that I.
let's have a
do
look
want
and
to
see
have.
what it looks like anyway. So we see.
It's over there with the Mercedes.
How you
one.
doing? You good? Everything good? How are you? Good? Good show? Amazing. I'll catch up later. So, yeah, I mean, it looks long as well. In fact, this is Richard, the CEO. This is Richard, the CEO of SimLab. How has the show been, Richard, for you?
Right.
Good. Successful.
Is this a 39?
Oh, 26.
Okay, we need a short statement from you on why people should think about getting a 39 Newton meters.
They really need to try to understand it,
Okay.
but it just feels massive.
Is it like a cinema? Like it's a cinema, it's a big experience, like...
I don't know. It's just. Let me think about it. Wait.
Okay.
Kinda,
But it's also got the power supply built in as well.
yeah.
So
No, the 39 just feels on another level.
Okay.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to explain.
and then you would recommend people you run it at 39 in the software.
No.
You run it on the base at 39 and you dial it down in the software in iRacing. Is that how you
It's,
would?
it's not about big torque 39.
Okay.
If you think it's only about 39 Nm, you don't understand it.
Okay.
It's about so let's say the average force is just a little bit higher.
Okay.
And then you have the peak towards the 39, and
Okay.
then you have all the detail downwards.
Okay.
That's what it's
Dynamic range.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
That was exactly what I meant. Like when it spikes out,
Yeah.
you don't get to that clipping area with
Yeah.
a 39 one.
And in general, when you have a 26 or something like that, your average force feedback is just a little bit lower.
Yeah.
But with this base, you can put your average level
Okay.
higher, and then you have the peaks.
And that's what you mean by big. It feels more immersive.
Yeah, and then it feels like a wall,
And
basically.
remind us on the availability. When might this hit the market?
End of Q1.
Okay. Big launch. Good luck, Richard. Good to see you. I like how Richard was just racing. A bit of spare time.
I'm trying to beat my lap.
Can't keep away. So yeah, SimLab coming in massive here.
Yeah.
39. Is that the Gravideck?
That is the Gravideck.
I didn't see it last year.
I wasn't here last year.
It's the one that...
I have not tried it, but like it looks interesting to say
Yeah.
the least.
What's your thought on motion? Do you have a motion rig at the moment?
I don't have a motion rig at home.
I don't either.
I would only use it for entertainment reasons, not for esport reasons.
That's what I've been saying. I want to hear your thoughts on this, okay? So Mitchie is a top-level esports driver. We'll keep walking this way. I feel like sim racing, the word, what we think, is not wide enough and it's not specific enough anymore. I feel like there's a spectrum of people who want to race fast. It doesn't matter whether you're esports level or not, but you want to personally race fast. You want to exploit track limits.
Yeah.
You want to understand the sim and be the fastest for the sim.
Yeah.
And maybe on the other end of the spectrum, you have people who want to be in something like this, and you want to be immersed, and you want to have maybe more of an emotional experience in the context of driving.
Yeah.
And I feel when we talk about sim racing, you don't know who you're speaking to. I mean, I'll speak for myself. I am more on the racing side.
Yeah.
I like the challenge of racing, and I want to feel myself get faster. I want to go wheel to wheel. So when you add in more variables that I don't fully understand, I don't always enjoy it.
The thing with the variables is, let's try to break it down on a very easy level what sim racing is about. Some would say sim racing is gaming.
Yeah.
And if you apply gaming to the sim racing action, what you try in every game is manipulate the steering or the mouse or the keyboard with maximum precision, with maximum repetitiveness and consistency, and that like as often and as perfect in repetition as possible.
Yeah.
The moment you add another dimension, which is a moving or like nothing that's static.
Yeah.
As soon as you add that variable to it, the task to master this repetition on a perfect level every single time is just becoming so much harder.
Yeah.
Which is why I would also, just like you, when we're racing, we want to just have everything static, because we sim racers are, I'm gonna start braking for the turn when the marshal post on the right hand side disappears behind the pillar.
Which is a bit arbitrary, but
Exactly, so if the rig's moving, everything is just staying the same.
Or in VR or something.
But as soon as you add VR, your braking point becomes variable, right?
Yeah.
So it's a total different story. And then you have the limitation of like in-depth feeling in a 2D screen.
I think the best way I can explain it is that I've been on some incredible. I love how everyone's lost their voice, right?
Yeah.
And Tom is like, but the best way I can explain it, I would prefer to be on a static time of day, static track temperature, static
grip.
tires, where the graphics aren't amazing, and I would prefer to do that than be on an insane, shaky handbrake, shifter, clutch thing. Now, I'm not saying either one is right.
No.
I'm saying that's personal taste. Some people like rock music, some people like hip hop.
It's exactly, and it's the reason why I run shadows off in sim racing.
Yeah.
Because shadows do not give me any visual benefit apart from distracting me potentially. So I just turn them off if I can.
But what do you think of my statement that the word sim racing is now can be confusing? Because here I think we have like it's almost like flight sim. I'm not too much into flight sim. I imagine some people really like combat, and some people like the immersion of flying a commercial airliner, and they're very different things, right?
Yeah.
But they're all flight. I say flight sim.
Yeah.
But so
it's difficult to name sim racing and like justify it to every other game. Like Mario Kart is sim racing in a way.
Yeah.
But so is Le Mans Ultimate and iRacing.
You say Mario Kart sim racing. If you took someone, maybe, I don't know, I'm not going to speak for like Max Verstappen or someone very competitive. They're like, okay, I want to understand the rules of this game.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's not like iRacing. I want to beat this game as best as I can.
Yeah.
And that's the mentality. That's like, and I don't know. I wonder if that mentality may change for me as I get older, etc. I'm not sure.
Like I don't know. In sim racing, we see
let's go right here.
even more immersive stuff coming, like whether that is motion,
Yeah.
whether that is motion here with D-Box, or whether that is the Graviton,
Right.
the big cases that we're seeing now.
We've got to talk about this medieval torture device.
Yeah, so I told a couple of guys to give it a try.
Yeah.
50% of them replied with "Thank you, I want to keep my head." The other 50% replied with "I had a go in it and it's massive. It's awesome."
So no, I haven't heard anyone say who hasn't been impressed by it.
Absolutely, and I think it is working pretty well. It is an interesting technology and also an interesting way of doing things.
Yeah.
And I gotta say this:
Yeah.
every racing driver has the issue to get ready for racing, and they have to do it in gym with whatever features.
Real world racing driver.
Real world
Yeah.
racing drivers.
Yeah.
This is the first practice machine for them to prepare them 100% for the forces that they are expecting in a track. You could practice like Circuit of the Americas.
Is that because of a lot of the belts as well? I think the belts are quite tight here.
The belt's quite not, but it's about the neck.
Okay.
Like when you go into a random gym, you don't necessarily find a gym device that is made for practicing
Yeah.
getting a stronger neck.
Yeah.
But this thing is.
And also the subtleties of like how to brace yourself.
Exactly,
and stuff like
exactly.
that.
It kind of slots into a niche that doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
In my personal opinion.
Yeah, probably the most, for me, if we're going to give out a little award, the most groundbreaking thing I've seen.
To me,
here.
it's one of the highlights of,
Yeah.
if not the highlight of the Expo. Just simply like, we've spoken about VR.
Yeah.
VR was there, not so much this time.
Yeah.
We're speaking about motion system, like any other rig got it.
Yeah.
But this is the only one that is entered a new dimension. It's
Yeah.
like simulating G-forces
Yeah.
on your neck with a helmet and everything.
And it feels a little bit like hidden away, like a little bit of a secret.
Yeah,
a little bit
bit.
of a secret at the moment.
Yeah,
Like, oh,
yeah.
have you seen it? Have you heard about it?
Absolutely.
There's this thing. But yeah, absolutely crazy. Very glad you got to try it.
You should try it. You should give it a go.
Yeah.
You know Aris?
I know
from
Aris
ACC?
here from AC, yeah.
Exactly. Hit him up. He'll
So
give
it has
you a
some-
ride.
It has some credibility, let's say.
Absolutely.
Talking about credibility or perceived, this is the Project Motor Racing area.
Yeah.
I know it's 4 o'clock on Sunday.
Yeah.
I've been surprised. How you doing, Aris?
I just wanted to say hi.
Do a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah.
But he needs to have a run in your sim.
Absolutely.
At some point,
Absolutely.
I want to come down and visit you guys.
Absolutely. That would be even better.
Yeah.
That would be, we can arrange that. Hi.
Let me give you my card live on camera.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
It's
how
not
you doing,
live. It's
Simagic?
not live, but yeah.
It's okay. No, I would love you to try it. Absolutely. Thank you.
So-
Thank you. I don't have a car, but you know where to
No,
find
no.
me. So
So, what's your hopes with this? To do it yourself? To license it? To
no, right now, first of all, we wanted to seek validations that if our stupid, silly, dumb idea
Yeah.
works, you know.
Yeah.
Because until until now, just 6 people in the world had tried it, and we felt it was something important. But until more people try it, you can never be. And after so many years working,
Yeah.
you lose also some objectivity, maybe.
Yeah.
And so that's mainly why we came
So
here.
let us know, what have people been saying as they take off the helmet? Is it like, wow, that's incredible? Because that's what I've been hearing. But any other interesting feedback that you've been getting?
So the feedback that everybody gives us, every single one, is that they couldn't believe the distance from, even when we explain them what it does and what they see, to what they experience. A lot of people come out and say, what were you moving? It's impossible that you achieve all of that just by moving the
Oh,
hand.
okay, they thought it was motion or something.
They thought that it was motion, they thought that it was rotation, they thought that it was joint pitch, all of that stuff. And we do nothing of that. We are very careful what kind and how we apply the forces.
Yeah.
There's a lot of trigonometry going on
Yeah.
in there. But you will notice when you will try it, you don't drive just with your head, you drive also with your shoulders, with your arms, and with your core as well. So you need to fight the whole system as you would do in the real car.
Yeah.
And that's the number one thing that we get as feedback, which is great
And is
for
this
us.
your big project right now? This
No.
is, no, this is
No,
a
this is my side
Oh,
project
okay.
because, sleeping is overrated.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Why not?
Because it wasn't important between you and me.
Yeah.
It's because he found out about it. This is so interesting. I
Oh.
need to be on board.
Yes,
Yeah, I mean,
pretty
it does.
much, yes.
Everyone's been coming out. It's like a little secret in this area, right? Like
Yeah,
people saying, "What
exactly.
is this thing? Have you heard of this thing?" With
Exactly,
the helmets.
exactly.
But,
It's like I've been saying it is the only thing here at Sim Racing Expo that opens a new dimension. We've seen VR we've seen moving motion rigs and whatnot, but we've not seen is like a simulator simulating G-forces on the neck.
How important is the VR to that? Is that very important? Is that critical?
The VR is critical.
Yeah.
The VR is critical because when you move the head, your vision has to look something in the same manner, and you cannot achieve that with the screens.
Because every
Single millimeter.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, you might see that the guys don't seem to be moving that much.
Okay.
Especially the good guys, they seem to be real, stable. Just a little bit of, but inside, you really think you're flying around.
Okay.
You really think that you're getting slapped. The vibrations are. We even achieving proper vision blur because of certain curves.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can give you an example of that. One of the problems we had was through all these years to try to separate which resonance was coming from our error and problem and which was from the actual car.
Yeah.
And Valencia,
Yeah.
it has some very, very wide curves that all sim racers use
Yeah.
to widen the track, right? And real races, except maybe sometime in qualifying, they never use them in race.
Okay.
They try to avoid them. And so I was talking with David Ferrell about it, like, why you don't use them? He told me that they have some very, very small dents on top of them, but they are very close to each other and a lot of them.
Yeah.
So when you go over with a real car, because the cars are so stiff and so empty, you know, you get so big resonance and vibrations with them.
The frequency is high.
Yeah, so high frequency that your vision is blurry continuously and you don't know where you're going.
Yeah.
You cannot look. And so he told me maybe some brave guys can use them into a qualifying lap, but you avoid them in the race because you simply lose focus after a while.
Yeah.
You cannot drive. And that opens our eyes because we had the same vision blur here.
Okay. Over similar curbs and things like that.
We would go over the curbs of Valencia and we couldn't see where the apex is. Everything was so resonating that we couldn't know what was happening. Yeah. And that's the key.
Okay. It sounds like the saying, when a technology is so good, it's indistinguishable from magic.
Yes,
yeah?
exactly.
I feel like this is what people are kind of associating with this.
Exactly.
So.
And talking about your comment about, VR, you don't get motion sickness. We had people certified knowing that they have motion sickness with VR.
Yeah.
They saw VR and said, no, man, I will not be able.
Yeah.
No motion sickness.
Yeah.
Because your brain, when it sees the acceleration and lateral force, etc., aspects for your muscles to engage.
Yeah.
And obviously, normally nothing engages, right?
So are you saying it's more to do with the muscles and like the inner ear? It's actually the muscle?
Yeah.
Because that almost feels like a advanced, like a thesis on like a, has to be like a PhD doctorate on it and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, but that's...
So practically when you turn and the VR moves, but you have to activate your muscles correctly because the VR moved, your brain's like, all right, we're at home.
Yeah. Okay, very interesting. It sounds like it might have more applications. I know we're at Sim Racing Expo, but maybe more applications beyond even sim racing potentially in the future. But I guess sim racing is your absolute focus.
Well, we start from sim racing because obviously we are absolutely passionate about sim racing. We know that sim racing is true. We know that it's not just a game. We know that by now. And by now everybody else knows it. You know, it's not like 10 years ago. So obviously that was our number one application. We also tried for flight sims, but right now you have issues because obviously when you go...
Oh, there's lots of... Okay.
Yeah, if you go 180 degrees...
I mean, I still do that in the car sometimes when I hit the curb.
Yeah.
Has anyone rolled the car or something?
Until now, no.
Okay.
So we haven't really explored. Maybe there's a solution, but I don't know what to tell you about it. But we see also other stuff. We had some guys here from government interested about training for military, hackers. So, who knows?
I mean, I'm really happy that this is coming to sim racing first because as a sim racers, we may be able to experience it first.
Absolutely.
And good luck. No injuries, I'm guessing. No injuries?
No injuries. We have so much safety features, absolutely, because it's very important.
Yeah.
We have 9 safety features in software and hardware,
Okay.
plus 4 metallic stops for the motors. You cannot, because the most important part is not so much the forces, it's the range of movement.
The range.
And so over a certain range of movement, even if everything goes to shit, sorry about that, the motors simply stop. They cannot go farther away.
It's interesting, I think you said, like people's perceptions will be like exciting but dangerous, but that also has a certain motor racing is exciting and dangerous as well.
Exactly,
But you have all the safety equipment.
True
etc.
realism,
So,
man.
yeah, no, I like it. I like the comparisons. But we'll let you get back. Thanks so much,
Thank you
Aris. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for your time. Thanks again.
Wow. Yeah. Super exciting.
Interesting. Important insights.
Yeah.
Because like that answers a couple of the criticism questions. Like I want to keep my head, so yeah, they make sure you keep your head in any case.
Yeah. So just coming off that to Project Motor Racing.
Yeah.
I'm surprised there are not more rigs here. I would think they would want as many people as possible to get on it. I
Yeah,
don't know if
but-
you did a session on it and your thoughts.
No, but at the same time they have PMR over there at Case King. They have PMR
That's true.
also on the stage.
That's true.
So I get your point. Like instead of the big JCB, which looks phenomenal,
Yeah.
and also the LMP, I would have also appreciated 5 more rigs. They could have maybe also improved the multiplayer experience, but maybe the system is currently limited to just 6 cars. Who knows?
Maybe.
Anyway, it's great that they've brought it here in the first place, and everyone having a chance to check it out.
Thrustmaster. I mean, one of the biggest products of the show, I think, is a load cell in terms of the applicability to sim racers.
Yeah.
Everyone who's bought the entry-level T598, they're going to want that load cell. Again,
Yeah.
it's interesting to go to companies like SimLab. They're doing the 39 Newton meters. You come to Thrustmaster. This is their first new generation load cell.
Yeah.
$130. Again, I think I ask you all the time, what's your view on this entry-level equipment?
I think it's important to get the entry-level equipment to something really feasible and accessible for the beginners.
Yeah.
Because like, if the beginner's kit, let's just say, is 200, 300 euros, and it's like 500-600 euros away from the actual stuff where you'd be like, yeah, like I enjoy sim racing so much, I want to improve the equipment, but I don't want to spend like 1,000 euros on getting everything new.
Yeah.
So even though if it's just like, let's say a limited load cell, it is a load cell but only 40-50 kilograms, whatever, that is just like at a reasonable price to get the experience and be like, hey, I enjoy this so much. Next thing I get is like an active pedal or so.
Yeah. Well, that's $140, I think, for the load cell upgrade.
Yeah, no, like that is a very reasonable and acceptable price also for like spending the money. And if it's not it, then like I sell it on I don't know where again.
Yeah, you're going to get most of it back.
But like, exactly.
Yeah.
If you pay 140 or 800 and something, is like a monumental difference.
Let's talk about cube controls.
Yeah.
You can see the style of this wheel here. It does look similar to the Thermaltake we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
So I think they are in collaboration. What's your view on Cube at the moment? I mean, such a highly rated manufacturer.
I mean, they have been in the market for quite some while. I have to admit, I've never really. I considered one of their products back in the day when I wanted to get some new steering wheel.
Yeah.
But I went with GSI instead, as you know.
What were the small differences? Was it? I mean, some of these wheels, they're not like a billion rotaries and encoders. Is that it, or the?
On the one hand, that. On the other hand, I have to admit there was a couple of. That looks pretty similar to the wheels we saw over there.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I did what so many other people do. They ask around in the communities like, "Oh, you've heard of that wheel? How do you like it? How do you think it is?"
Yeah.
And at the time, I was more receiving the feedback of they may have some quality issues.
Okay.
So I ticked them off the list for that reason. Yeah.
Maybe a little bit unfair. Maybe
unfair.
Maybe it's our money, so we have to be making.
Absolutely, like maybe unfair. I was looking at the one or other review. I strongly considered them, but at the end of the day, like I didn't hear that many quality concerns from another brand. So I just went with the one where I thought or where I heard it's more reliable.
As a German, does the Mercedes logo mean something to you? Does it mean something to Germans?
I'm a Mercedes fanboy, so I'm driving Mercedes privately. So
that does look nice. I mean, that is a very nice.
It does, absolutely. And I think that would be the only thing missing on my steering wheel at home is like Mercedes star something.
Yeah. Have you seen the VPG Porsche wheel?
Nope.
So the new Porsche Cup car, the 992, right?
Yes.
991. But that's a carbon fiber wheel from VPG.
I may have seen it somewhere. Yes.
We can see it here at VPG. Great timing.
Exactly. Yeah, I've seen it on that rig or so, yeah.
Sam's not going to know where we are, our cameraman. That's fine.
Is it that one?
So this is the Mustang.
The Mustang, yeah.
I think it's an amazing wheel. I think the reality is there's actually no Mustang branding on the wheel, so it kind of looks plain. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah.
But let's look at the Porsche. I understand about 1,200 euros maybe. Very different to what we see from other brands with all singing, all dancing. This is like trading on this carbon fiber. It's
super
a real
plain. Yeah.
super plain. What's your honest, as an esports driver, what's your kind of like honest take on that?
I mean, as an esport driver,
Yeah.
I not always have, let's say, a Porsche Cup dash in front of mine where the LEDs and all information is on.
Yeah.
So I massively prefer a steering wheel that has LEDs.
Got it.
So I can configure them
Yeah.
for optimal shiftings or fuel saving efficiency.
Yeah. So you just look at that, and that's already a deal breaker for you personally because there's no rev lights.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That is the first deal breaker.
Yeah.
And in the meanwhile, the second deal breaker is also the LCD.
Yeah.
Because I can decide on my LCD what information do I
Yeah.
want to have in which place, on which page. I can just configure it to
Would you
myself.
feel any different? This is really interesting. Obviously, this is the same wheel as in the car here. This
Yeah.
is the new car. It's from the same factory. I've been to their factory. Would you feel any different if they were to bundle the display unit with it? Because obviously the reason why that doesn't have a screen and rev bar is because it's on your Motec or whatever unit they have, the
Yeah.
Bosch. So would you feel any different if they bundled that, or still is that a...
To an extent, because if I show it on that rig,
Yeah.
if here's the wheel on,
Yeah.
my screen starts here.
Low.
A display would just block the screen.
So you need it in your wheel, really.
I want to have it in my reel for
Yeah.
the way, like otherwise I need to put the monitor up and then look upwards when driving. I don't want to
Yeah.
do that. I want to look straight, like out of the windscreen.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because the irony is the more realistic you make it, in a way sometimes you can be less realistic because you don't have the display that you have in the car. So
The
Yeah.
problem with realism here is sim racing cockpits only cover like 50 or 60 or 70% of what a real car has.
Yeah.
Like on a real car, you always have a dashboard, you always have like signs,
Yeah.
odometers, an LCD display, control panels,
Yeah.
and so on. In sim racing, your cockpit, you need to like actually buy all that stuff together. So to me, it's more important to have it in a practical way rather than in like.
it's a really interesting point you made because at some point, okay, so we have the screen and the sim being rendered and the graphics can be photorealistic, etc. But at some point, there's like a handshake between that and the real world, which is I'm sitting in extrusion
Yeah.
in my bedroom.
Yeah.
And like it's these things here, like the screen not built in, where it's kind of lost in that translation, right?
Exactly.
And the field of view as well.
It is obviously a honourable approach, don't
Yeah,
get me wrong,
yeah.
and I absolutely get why the companies are doing
Yeah.
it. It's just like you don't get the same feeling at home, like you're not sitting actually in a Porsche,
Yeah.
and then you're not always driving a Porsche.
Yeah.
You have like a Porsche wheel with adjustments that might not be even possible to tune in the
Yeah.
car that you're actually racing in.
Yeah.
So when it's all about that immersion, you would kind of have to limit yourself to
Yeah.
only run the Porsche Cup car with that wheel,
Yeah.
which is the reason why so many sim racers got like 12 or 13 different rims in
Yeah.
their room. I'm none of that either.
I'm racing the Porsche today. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, one rim fits it all. It's like,
Should we get out to Fanatec while we're
yeah, we
talking?
can. So when I do an oval in a NASCAR,
Yeah.
I still run my Formula One type wheel with the LCD screen and the LEDs.
Yeah.
That's just how I do sim
The
racing.
3.5 is going to be
So Fanatec,
remember,
Two big products here in the middle,
Yeah,
the podium pedals and the podium DD.
yeah,
If we start with the pedals,
yeah.
so firstly, what do you think of the look of them?
The load cell adjustments and the load cell configuration
Yeah,
looks massive.
yeah,
And I think it's a great thing because if you essentially look at it, what it does is like it makes sure the elastomers are not down to wearing out from humidity,
Yeah.
from air, from light,
Yeah.
from whatever. So also they reduce the friction obviously since they put the elastomer into like a room where it doesn't touch.
So can I, on you know, other elastometer pedals, is that something you've noticed?
I haven't driven them yet, which is the big issue.
No, not these. On elastometer pedals.
Yeah.
Is that something you've noticed?
Yeah.
Okay, can you explain what that feels like?
So, I have Husikfeld Sprints,
Yeah.
and I'm still running the stock elastomers in
Yeah.
it. But in the meanwhile, the pedal is not coming 100% back.
Okay. It's sticking.
Like, yeah, it's not sticking, but like the elastomers don't fully expand anymore.
Okay.
Which is why, obviously, as long as no pressure on the load cell, no input is on it.
Yeah.
But like when my brake pedal was like this in the beginning, it's now like that in the zero position.
Okay. So you have to keep recalibrating as well on the position.
I have to always like recalibrating
Yeah.
and like stiffen the spacer mats in between.
Okay.
So that is something I think this technology could reduce.
Yeah.
It's more of a maintenance and like an adjustability thing. You obviously have a lot of very interesting.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Would it be easier for you to replace the elastometer
It would be easier.
and cheaper
Perhaps.
than upgrading the pedals? I just wonder if that's the.
I'm not even sure if it's an upgrade at the end of the day because like a load cell pedal stays a load cell pedal.
No, sorry. I mean, you could buy something relatively expensive like this to protect the elastometers, or would it just be cheaper to replace your elastometers once they
Would
get
perhaps
deformed?
be cheaper, but the question is overall is like, what is the overall price of the product? Like,
Yeah.
just because this is 2K doesn't mean it's just because of the elastomers.
Yeah.
Could be also about the adjustability of every pedal. Could be also about the alloy rim.
Yeah.
They've been.
So let me ask you about these Formula ones with the. I call them stirrups, like horse things, like you put your feet in
Yeah.
there. Like, is that realistic to you? Is that an advantage? Is that going to lock you in, or do you think it's a bit silly?
I think it's both. It depends on the preference. I know that when I'm on the throttle, my right hand side of the shoe tends to flip off a little, and then I have like a little bit of an angle.
Yeah, that's true.
Of an angled
Yeah.
position. With
But
those pedals, I would be forced to be like in a specific
Yeah.
angle on it.
But is that kind of relaxing sometimes that you slip off the pedal?
Sometimes it's relaxing to be like, when you're at it,
Yeah.
to just overbend the knee a little
Yeah.
bit, but still stay full throttle,
Yeah.
but have a little bit of movement on the ankle.
Okay. Because I guess when you're in a Formula car, I don't know if you've driven any single-seaters, but like, there's nowhere to move.
You have no space,
Yeah.
so it makes total sense
Yeah.
to also like limit it in that way.
And then
But again, it's preference.
podium DD as well, 25 Newton meters, I
Yeah.
think, or 24, 25. I think you said before, like, that's kind of a good level. You don't need to really go too much above
It's
it.
a good level. To me, is a bit astonishing. Like, if I were them, I would have worked on a
because it's
on a
podium.
different steering wheel. Also because it's podium, but
Oh,
like,
but they don't have a steering wheel necessarily to put on this, apart from the M4, really.
maybe.
Yeah.
But like the thing is, Fanatec do have their DD, DD1, DD 0.5.
Yeah.
Like this product is just another one which kind of replace
Yeah.
others of those.
And it does it visually similar as well, from the outside.
I think the bigger innovation of the products being launched now are the pedals for 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I would have probably appreciated, from a customer point of view, I would have appreciated like a steering wheel with a display or whatnot.
Yeah.
But generally speaking,
I think I agree with you, and again, we don't know, and if we knew, we couldn't say anyway what they're developing in development. But if this was sitting here with a nice GT screen with a nice GT3 wheel with a screen, like we saw at Cube, like
Yeah.
GSI have, that would be like a full set now. You're like, okay, I can think about Fanatec
yeah,
full switch.
yeah, exactly.
So let's see that's coming. I think we've been chatting for ages. How long, Sam, were you chatting for?
40 minutes?
45 minutes. So you have to make sure you subscribe to Mitchie, to Sam, to Wolmid in the description. And if you've got any left, you can subscribe here as well. But Mitchie's been great. Don't know when we're going to catch up next.
Yep.
We should do some bespoke trips to like companies,
Yeah,
and we can just interrogate them, because we just say what we think, right?
Yeah,
And we have
yeah.
two. I think we come at things from maybe two different angles. So
We come from two different angles for sure,
Yeah.
which is probably refreshing for everyone involved.
all right. See you next time.
Yeah.